When you talk about democracy, many will tell you that the definition of democracy globally may not be exactly the way it is defined in Nigeria. But then the question of governance comes to play. How do you marry democracy and governance? So it's been 25 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. But there are many who are wondering, at what point would governance begin to kick in? Newsnight sat down for a conversation with one who should know. He's a member of the National Assembly who's been there for multiple terms. And he says, the problem is the fact that the electoral umpire has not exactly cleaned out the system. Really? Besides that, the people who are being governed have not stood up to demand for accountability. Maybe because they are not very knowledgeable about what's going on. Is that where the problem is? Well, today we sat down for a conversation with the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Reforms, Honorable Adebayo Balogun. Honorable Adebayo Balogun, thank you for speaking to us on Newsnight. You know, yours is a very unique position. I mean, being the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Reforms, and seeing that Nigeria has just celebrated 25 years of uninterrupted democracy. How would you say this country has fared?
If you look at the electoral transition, let's look at what happened during the 60s that led to Operation Wete, where people will vote and the votes will not be counted there. It will be taken down to the electoral office, and many things happen before you get there. So that was a transition. That was a particular scenario. Yes, there was the time where we are using the open ballot. People will line up, and I still tell people, open ballots can never be a fair election. I, as a landlord, cannot be on the same queue, in a different queue with my tenant that's owing me some money. I'm sure he would never attempt it. That's another scenario that we passed through. We've passed through the scenario of ballot box snatching, stuffing of ballot boxes. All these are situations we've gone through in the past. But the last electoral amendment has been the best thing Nigeria ever experienced. The inclusion of the beavers. Accreditation of voters has been the major bane. How do you ensure that the number of people that are registered in that area and are present are the only ones that will vote? Because collation and all the rest, yes, are also necessary. But the first action is the voting itself, accreditation of voters. Before the use of beavers, many people will come, maybe about just 20 people in the polling station will vote the whole 500 registered voters in that unit. So if I've been able to achieve that through do we call it proxy voting now? We do proxy voting for them. At the end of the day, just 50 people will be present and 500 votes will be counted in that. Either I now transmit it manually, electronically, doesn't even matter again. So the best thing that has actually happened is the beavers that happened within the last 2023 election. Yes, some people might not agree, but for us politicians, we know the fear of the beavers is the beginning of wisdom. Okay. So we can now see from what we've been having. That's why some people were saying that there are a lot of voter apathy during the last election. No, that was the first time we got the realistic votes. In many polling units, you have about 2,000, 3,000 registered voters, but most of these people are either no longer in that area, or they have died, transferred their PVC to another unit, but all these numbers are still kept. So you just have a growing number of voters until INEC is able to clean up his register to remove all those, we'll call it maybe dead registration now. Then we'll be able to get the actual number of voters. That is the day we now know if there are actually voter apathy or not. The last election witnessed the highest turnout as far as I'm concerned. Many students that never voted before came out to vote. People were agitated by many reasons, and they came out, but we still saw a very low turnout. It is because the number we have on the data of INEC is not realistic. We have about 93 million as at now, and at the end of the day, election will be about between 27 and 33 million. Just about 1/3 of the register.
So is it a question of people, the citizens, not understanding democracy or not wanting to be a part of it?
No, I'm saying most of those names are being repeated over time. So that's not the number. That's not the actual number. That means if you actually check, probably the actual voters on Nigerian list should not be more than 50 million. In my own case, in my unit, I've changed my PVC twice now, based on the blurriness of the pictures. But even in my unit, my name is still being repeated thrice in my own unit. So that means if it's possible for me to vote thrice now, I could have done it. So if it had happened to me, many other people too would have had their names repeated. And this even within one unit. I applied for a change of PVC because the pictures are not clear. And I did not even go to another unit. It's the same unit, and the system is not sensitive enough to know that I have 3 pictures now. If it has happened in one unit, what do you think would have happened for people who transfer from one unit to another, even from one state to another? So some people, and I remember when you started this card PVC scenario, it was way back 2006 against the 2007 election. I knew some of our younger ones that used to come from school, then they have actually traveled, graduated, settled on their own, moved away from the locality, but all their names are still there. So we've had build up from 2006 up to today, not being reviewed. So that's why we have this large number. Not that people are not actually coming out. Nigeria came out for the last election. People were truly out. So looking at the development in our electoral process, it has improved drastically. I was in South Africa, I was in Liberia. Most of their systems were more manual. They were doing manual accreditation. None of them have the kind of technology we deployed. But one major issue is we must believe in ourselves. We must believe in our system. An average Nigerian just tell him, this is no, it can never happen. No, we can't trust INEC. No, they are going to do this, they are going to do that. We don't believe in ourselves and we don't believe in the system. We must, as a people, learn to believe in our system. I'm not saying we should be gullible, but be objective.
When you talk about nobody complaining, there are those who will argue with you that what makes you think people are not complaining? Is it not a product of what they have seen the politicians do over time? I mean, if over and over the Nigerian politician says, we're going to give you red, and they give you blue, over and over again, why do you think the people will still trust these politicians when that kind of system failure occurs?
You see, we are all in this together. 20 years ago, 80% of people that we call the political class today were not there. The society gets what it deserves. We are all part of the system. An average Nigerian is in Nigeria as an average Nigerian. What we do is a reflection of who we are. So it's a matter of reorientating ourselves generally and not focusing on the politician. I was watching the one interview by the former governor of Akwa Ibom, Udoma, while he was trying to relate what he has done so far and how much he regret he had that he could not achieve so much that he planned to achieve 5 years into his administration, and he bursted into tears on live interview because he said I was prepared. So I thought I was prepared for this job. Kosiva, the professor, the professor.
Yes.
And he said, I thought I prepared for this job. Because it is in Nigerianness, it's every one of us. The civil service structure itself will ensure that you don't get things done. The minister of aviation, was Keamu, said it during his one year talk when he was giving the account of his stewardship for 1 year, and he told most of the cabinet members that if you want things done, don't listen to the civil servants. They said the new terminal that was constructed could not be used, and I said, why? You've spent so much money on this terminal. Why couldn't it be said the hangar or whatever where they parked the plane was not suitable? Said, but you were there when they designed these things. Why are you now complaining? Okay, we travel abroad. They use buses. So you park the bus, you park the plane. We'll take buses to that. They must use this place. And they said from so they must start using it, and they started. And they said some of the other runways that they have not been working, he has to ensure that they start working. Even the problem earpiece had been facing, he said most of them were caused by even the fan Nigeria part of the deal. They wanted to frustrate the airline to ensure that they continue to benefit some of the things they get from the foreign airlines. These are not the politicians, but most of the time we target the politicians. And every politician wants to come in with a purpose. He wants to deliver. He wants to be seen to have delivered. No politician comes in to fail. You won't waste all your resources and your time to come and fail.
You know that. But
sometimes when you get into the system, you know that the system is so toxic to the level that if you are not careful, by the time you finish your first 4 years, even you yourself will not be able to point to whatever, just one single thing you have achieved, unless you are so determined.
You know that can be debatable. No politician comes in to fail.
Yes.
But no politician, does it also apply when you say no politician comes in to lose money?
Look,
there are those who will tell you that Nigerian politicians in this democracy just come in for them it's an investment, it's their business. I put in this amount of money, buy all the things I need to do, invest in the people as much as I can, a bag of rice, a bag of wrapper, a bag of salt, and at the end of the day I want to leave here recouping the money I had spent.
How many politicians get out better than the way they went in? How many politicians? That's
debatable.
No, I'm telling you practically.
Okay.
Yes, you see one of you were able to make runs. Yes, some people want to beat the system. Some people could be so smart to get better financially. But an average politician gets worse. Because whatever you get, the people are there at home. You are representing them. All their problems are on your neck. The last Eid-Fitr, you know how much everybody will spend. The Christmas will follow after Eid-Fitr. The resumption of schools will come in. Their children's school fees is on your neck. No matter what you make, you continue to spend more than what you make, because you know how many people who are rooting for you for your elections. How many hang-ons are on your neck? So an average politician get out worse off. But sometimes some people will say, oh, their children are abroad and all those things. Most of the people that you are talking about were already made before they come into politics. You don't come to politics as a poor man. You will not even make the first ticket, the upper marriage. There are a lot of people who, there are some people who come to the real estate market during the election period, because they know that's when politicians will be selling properties to contest the election. There are some people that will wait for election period to buy properties. Some people sell houses, sell cars. And if you're fortunate enough to buy one house at that period, he has used all our money. But nobody knows how many houses, how many land, how many things you've sold in the process. Because it's a business, it's a venture that you don't really understand before you get into.
If it is not that attractive, why does it look like a do or die affair? I mean, for 25 years of Nigeria's uninterrupted democracy, there are some people who have been there and they're not ready to leave.
The do or die is not about the person himself. It's about the hang-ons. Once you leave, it affects us. Even when things are bad, they tell you, don't worry, we can fix it. Even when you go to court, your lawyers don't want you to take the judgment. From the tribunal, will say, no, we have the appeal, we have option of appeal. You lose at the appeal, we say, no, we still have the Supreme Court. The lawyers is benefiting. In fact, in the electoral act, some of the amendment we are trying to do is to ensure that when you bring frivolous cases to court, both the petitioner and the lawyer will be penalized because they are making gains from it. They will continue to encourage you. And some of them believes, because it's very easy to get a SAN award by just doing 2 or 3 litigation on electoral issues, because it just takes some few months and you are done. It's different from all this litigation that will take you 10 years, 20 years. So with electoral issues matters, you can just take 3, 4, 5 cases. Either you win or not, it adds to your own CV. So some people even tell you, I'll do pro bono. Let me just take up this case. So the more they go for the higher challenges, the better for them. So there are a lot of interest. All the time, it's not just about the finance. So when you are looking about our movements, from our electoral movement, yes, we have achieved so much. Now, the developments. Accountability will not come from the political officer there. It has to come from the people. When I'm talking to people, I'm not saying individuals. There are institutions responsible for these actions.
If I say, what about the institutions? You take me back to the civil service again.
No. Yes, they are part of it. Yes, because a situation where even the system that's supposed to correct you is the one even encouraging you, showing you signs. A politician cannot do anything without the civil service. You can't even sign any check. You can't award any contract. Because sometimes when you start probing a governor, for example, and the permanent secretary, accountant general of the state is there, free, and you want to probe the governor, who was signing the check? So you must look at this as holistically. So when you are talking about curbing corruption, ensuring accountability, everybody must be involved. We must even understand the system. Most of the time, we just see the governor and we think he calls the shots. There are so many things the governor might not even understand for his whole 4 years till he leaves. So we must broaden our knowledge about issue of accountability. How do we ensure accountability? Who and who should be held responsible? How do we ensure that all the institutions are strengthened enough to stand up to the political class? One of these issues is to ensure that we have the independence of the state assemblies. Unfortunately, the state assemblies are the ones who are also rejecting these proposed bills, the amendments that have been sent to them, because the House of Assembly is the last hope to correct the governor if there is any infraction. Because if there is any Auditor General's report, it must go to the House of Assembly. They will now set up inquiry into the matter. So they can, but most of the time, it's not that even it's the governor that is even guilty. Because when you talk about misappropriation, it's not that it's the governor that was actually in charge. But there was an infraction, there's misappropriation, but was it actually the fault of the governor? But most of the time, because they see you as the accounting officer, you must be responsible. But the day they will ensure that every step, every other individual that's supposed to have corrected, that's supposed to have done something that compromised, were also taken along. So if the governor is found guilty, the accountant general is also involved, the auditor general is involved, all the permanent secretary of those ministries were also carried along, then everybody will be careful. Because I think when we do this, it is the governor that will be held responsible at the end of the day. So we will continue, life will continue.
The system you talked about. There is the legislature that creates the laws. There is a constitution. But maybe you clarify this, because it sounded to me as if you're implying that the civil servants are above the law, that they tend to do some things and get away with it. There is no law to hold them. And is it possible that the legislature is not able to amend the constitution in such a way that the permanent secretary, the directors, and the accountant general are roped in whenever a governor is going to be proved?
Let's take one scenario. A road construction job is about to be awarded. You set up the board of tenders board. Tenders board are done by the civil servants, not the political class.
Yeah.
So they are the one that will advertise. So if you want to ensure that the advert goes to only those that they want to see, so it's just purely for them to now decide. If after the advertisements, someone is given the job, a road contract can only be inspected by the permanent secretary of works, who must be an engineer, a current engineer. Even if the governor is a certified current engineer, he cannot say if that job is good or not. It's not his job. It's the job of the permanent secretary to say this job was done perfectly. If he doesn't sign off on it,
no payment.
No payment. So if such job was paid for, and you now say it's the governor's brother that did it, is it the governor that satisfied it to have been done well? You don't need to be sentimental. Don't start attaching, oh, this company is owned by the governor. First of all, talk about the job. Was the job done well or not? Was it satisfied by the right person or not? Was it paid for by the right person, or the governor forged the signature of the accountant general and the permanent secretary works? So if that had been done, because at the end of the day, what we just start talking about is that the person who did that job is the cousin of the governor. Who says because I'm the governor of the governor, I should not contest for contracts? I should not get involved? Am I not a citizen of the state? So why are you now talking about who the person is, rather than how was the job done well? Was due process followed? It's the civil servants that does all those ones. So if they have done their own job well, no governor will be able to get away with anything.
But I asked the question I asked earlier. Let me reiterate that. So now that many times we find out the governor is probed or the minister is probed, and sometimes the EFCC will take them to court, and some have been prosecuted, convicted, some pardoned, and all of that. At the end of it, the question is, what is the role of the law to ensure that those civil servants are also brought in so that they can answer to the questions? For instance, they certify those contracts.
Yes, that's what I said. I said we all have to start ensuring that if it's going to be legislated upon, because I can't give the direct answer to that immediately.
Because you're a legislator.
No. I'm saying I don't. Is it actually in the law already? Are we not just activating it? I don't know. That's why I said I can't just answer. I have to check. Some of these things that you say you want to go and write, sometimes they're already in the books. But many times we don't even know what we have in the laws. It's only the one that we are using at any particular time that we are aware of sometimes. So it's only the people that are actually practicing it that will know. So unless the law is tested, before you know how much, what we actually have in it. So we are looking at procedural issues. So I, as a person, I don't think I will be taken to court and I will let all the other people that I felt would have corrected what I did. Because as a political officer, you are supposed to be a school starter. You are not necessarily knowledgeable about those procedures. You are representing your people. It's the trust they have in you that you can represent us, not because they believe you do the right thing. and your writing is taking policy about, oh, let's do this road, let's build school. Those are the policies you can do. You bring it up, but it's the execution. You are not involved in execution. So why will I now be held liable for the execution that was not actually? If you look at the issue of security, what the best the president can do is to provide fund. Recently, when they were discussing on the floor of the Senate about issue of insecurity, and Senator Ndume, he said some of these service chiefs were using the money for security, building in universities in their community in the name of University of Defense, University of it, to make it look like something that will be useful for the defense. But I say, and he said at the end of the day, those universities are just there, fallow, no lecturers, nothing. And they are supposed to have used this money to buy essential things needed. What would Mr. President do? Is he a military person? Does he have military background? Can you advise on what to buy or not to buy? Once they bring their budget, you approve and you release money. You have 20 items. It is the executor of this project that will decide what is priority for him.
You had just mentioned something that, in my opinion, sounded like you were indicting the legislator.
How?
So the military, to tackle insecurity, they went ahead to buy. They brought their budget. Go get equipment. And as you said, you quoted a senator saying they used that money to build certain infrastructure that were not needed.
No, but they were in the budget.
No, they were in the budget.
Yes.
But at that point in time, that infrastructure is not needed.
No, once it's in the budget, it's already a law.
Okay. I'm coming. I'm going somewhere. So he builds that infrastructure and it's just there, dormant, no lecturer. The school, no lecturer. What happened to the oversight functions of the legislature? Are they not seeing to ensure that this thing we budgeted for is there and functional? Is that not part of your oversight?
You see, that's another issue entirely. What we are talking about is you budgeted 10 naira. You are able to get 7 naira. You are supposed to prioritize at that level. What is more important? Yes, whatever they have written would have been defended. But in fighting insurgents, I believe buying arms, ammunition is more important than the training school you are now start building. You need something immediately. That, yes, could also be important futuristically. But we are talking about now. If you now build the school and you now tell me you don't have arms and ammunition, then I would look, wow. So what did you use the money for? Yes, by law, they've not heard because the budget is a law. And as long as they are not doing something out of the budget, the House can only say, but you should have done this instead of doing this. But you can't hold them responsible because they're all in the budget.
You can't withhold.
Yes, you can't hold them. No, you can't hold.
You can't withhold, but the allocation?
No. You see, what I'm saying is you can't hold that person responsible because he's the one that will say, look, I believe this is also important. Because they are the operator.
The question I'm asking is, so you, in your oversight responsibility, you found out that, look, building a training school now is not the need. Why?
That's my opinion. I'm not the technical person.
And it's based on your opinion, I'm asking.
Yeah.
Though building a training school right now is not the need. We are fighting is that we need arms. And he insists on building that school. Okay? He insists. Or whoever, the head of that agency is insisting on that school. Okay. But later you find out that that school has been built, but it's not functional. And yet you still allocate, because that school, being what it is, has to be funded annually. So you still go ahead and allocate money for the funding of that school every year.
Because they've created it already. So that will now start consuming another fund.
Even though it's not functional.
No. You see, what I'm saying is you build the school first before you even put in anything. Just like any other interventions we do. you build secondary schools, primary schools, even at this level in our various communities, then we hand it over to the necessary agency to take up. So making it functional is another thing. It might not even be for them to operate. It might be for a university. They might put it under a university. But what I'm saying is, when you have money, at the end of the day, you are supposed to prioritize that it's not in the hands of the politician. So let us look the issue itself. The issue is that the politician is not the one that dictates priority when it comes to execution. It's the operator who are civil servants. They are the one that will know that, okay, is this one we'll do first. What you do is you approve the budget, you pass it to them. Now, you have 10 items. Most of the time, we don't have we hardly have 100% funding.
Yeah.
So when you have 70% funding, it's for you to now look at what should come first. But if in the process, they now took what to you might not be priority. So what I'm saying is that they have more powers when it comes to execution than the political class. That's just the area I'm trying to emphasize. That in the area of execution, the civil servants have more powers because they are the ones that are actually going to do it. They are the professionals in that field.
And when it comes to accountability, they are not there to account for it. There's a politician that helps.
Because we are not talking. No, because we are not talking. Because we have been quiet. Most of the time, if I'm not a doctor, I'm the governor of the state, I'm not the doctor, I've given all the money, all the support I needed to give, and the health facilities are not good, yet not good enough. Is this going to be my problem? So we must also start ensuring that we indict all the necessary people. So whenever things are happening, we must have our own system of check now. The way things are, because when the chiefs are down, the political class becomes the scapegoat. So we must also, on our own part, start working on these issues and start looking at who is doing what. Because you have to do that one privately, because civil servants will not hurt themselves. Because you can't tell a level 13 officer, go and check level 17 officer. He will run away. So sometimes they say, we have so many PAs, we have so many this. Those are the only major people working when we are there. In the service during the COVID, at least from level 14 downwards, we are told to stay at home. Only level 15, 16 upward, and the so-called appointees that were working 24 hours. Because you are there for your principal and you want to make sure that your principal performs so that we can come back. Because he knows if he fails, he also becomes jobless. And their own jobs, that's why most of the time people say, you employ so many people, you have so many essays, as if they are not Nigerians, as if they are not entitled to job. And these people, once you employ them, they are on the job throughout. If you don't go home, they don't go home. An average civil servant, once it's 4 o'clock, I want to go. If you are not letting him go home, we can be sitting down and we'll be looking at ourselves. And you know what you call movement without motion. I mean, motion without movement. So what we're saying now is the political class, we face so much problems that we also have to start involving. And there must be a real understanding of the process by the political class. If you really want to achieve, you must really understand the process, because many things can be delayed, technically delayed. In the procurement process, there are ways they can frustrate your government during procurement process that you just end up not doing 50% of what you planned for. So moving forward, like where we started, democracy and good governance. Democracy is it's not just about the election. Yes, in election, we are trying, we are improving. But in good governance, it takes every one of us to ensure good governance. It takes every one of us to be watchdog. And we should not continue to be fixated. Because this thing used to be like this, so politicians used to be bad. Then you want to hang every politician. No matter what you do, no matter how much you try, give everybody a break. Assess me on my personal performance. Don't treat me because of your last experience.
So far, would you say our democracy has been that kind of democracy where the people are being lifted to the level of the politician? Because it appears the politicians are getting richer and bigger. than the people that they came to serve.
I said one basic thing here, that many politicians leave office worse than the way they got in. Go and start a study on it and find out. The only thing is like you only see one of the few extravagant ones and you generalize. You know how many people after leaving office find life very difficult because now they've left whatever they are doing before. And that's one of the areas you even have to amend in some of our laws. You have to resign even before you contest election. You have to resign from your job. You have to do this. So that means we are making politics only available for those who have nothing doing. Because you have to risk leaving your employment to go and contest. How many people want to do that?
That would be very interesting. So you're implying that we should make politics part-time?
If it is possible, we can make it part-time.
So our lawmakers are part-time lawmakers?
Look, you see, I'm telling you something. Majority of members are not finding it easy. No matter how much you say we collect, whatever you input is not as much as the output.
Yeah.
We are talking about real politicians, not the few appointed ones who are just lucky to be appointed, who doesn't have constituency. A real politician who has constituency, who has his people, he feels whatever they feel. Check our messages. Everything is about there's a problem here, we need money. Sometimes I print my state of account, it's like bulky because of so much transfers every day. Even when you are everywhere, anywhere you are, because of the system of this, you can do e-transfer now. You can't escape. All they need to do is just send a text. So thing happened, account number. And you are always there.
So what do we do in our reforms, in reforming our democracy? You're the chairman of the Electoral Reforms Committee in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
Is there something that can be done in reforming the electoral process and all of that to make our democracy better, to make accountability and transparency
of the election process,
of governance in itself?
Well, that's why I said we have to separate election and good governance. They are two different things. Now, in the election, what are the problems we're having? Yes, we said beavers have done so much. Then what next? Yes, one of the major problems we are having is the litigation period. How do we ensure that nobody takes advantage over the other person? If we ensure that all litigations are settled before swearing in, we'll remove advantage of one candidate over another person. How do we achieve that? We said that a lot of frivolous cases are also taken to court. We have to ensure that we find a way of checkmating it. Now, there's some part of the way in doing that, we want to first ensure that litigation on pre-election matters are resolved before the general election, because most of the cases are usually pre-election matters. Now that moves straight into the general election, and then all the one they were accusing Ashwaju of pre-election matters, qualification, this and that, they are all pre-election matters. Although some can be taken as post-election matters, but majority are all pre-election matters. So if you ensure that all pre-election matters are resolved before the general election, then there will be very little cases for the tribunal after the general election. So if we are able to achieve that, then it will be very easy to conclude that one too before the swearing in.
Yeah.
So once we are able to do that, then we have created a level playing field for everybody. That's one is annoying some people. Now we are looking at over-monetization of our politics. We are trying to improve on some of the fines in the books. You find out that we find some of these electoral offences, some fines are low at 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira, 50,000 naira. And when some of these laws were created, maybe the value of money was still very high. So we want to ensure that we increase those fines and also make it very flexible for the court. So we make it a minimum of whatever we fix now, so that the judges will not need to get another amendment before they can increase. So it will be at the prerogative of the judges. So we just put the minimum bar so that there will be room for the judges, because we cannot be amending, especially now that the naira is losing value almost every day. So that it will be very flexible, because it is the flexibility of the law too that also ensure that we don't go for amendment so many times. But although people will also take advantage of flexibility, so the Judicial Council too also have a duty to ensure that, okay, some of these laws, by the time we finish with some of these amendments, we are still going to sit with the judiciary too, because sometimes they must understand the spirit of the law. Because when you make a law, why did you make this law? So that in delivering judgments, it will also help them.
Okay.
It will also help them, because that's why you say two judges giving varying judgments. Because it's about their own prerogative at that point. Some laws could be ambiguous. So I interpret it another way, you might interpret it another way. Not that any one of us is wrong, but it's just because of the ambiguity of the law. And we also want to remove any ambiguity too. A situation where the electoral had to be saying something, the constitution will be saying another thing. And we know that any law that is inconsistent with the constitution is invalid to the extent of inconsistency. So why do we have to be? You can never use the Electoral Act to cure the constitution. So if there's any of such laws, we will remove them. Because that's what some people will say, let's go to court, we have this. And some people are so lazy that when they just look at the law, they will not look at the alternative laws that are available, especially the constitution, which is the grand norm, to check that is this thing consistent with the constitution. So these are some other areas that we are looking at. So at the end of the day, we just want to ensure that, yes, our elections are seen to be free and fair. So and there are some areas that will involve the amendment of the constitution too. We've seen some of these, because some of them cannot be amended only in the act, that will also require amendment in the constitution. So people are talking about, we've had so many memorandum sent in. People are talking about one single term. People are talking about creating even a different body for electoral offenses. But we are seeing people that are talking about going back to our Rossonyi report, reducing
the number of ministries, departments, and agencies.
Why can't we stop these things from happening than creating another body that will now investigate it? So, but it's what the people want at the end of the day that we'll do. By the time we collate all these issues, we'll present it on the floor of the House, then we'll go for public hearing. We'll present it to people. Because, and again, people don't really turn out for public hearings. That's another major problem. The day they had the public hearing during the last dispensation, electoral amendment, they had the public hearing in Lagos. People didn't turn out. And it was this same Lagos people went out on NSAS, destroying properties. And when it was time for them to take action, the president cannot create state police. It's the law. The president cannot create state police. The law must be amended. And the law cannot be amended by us alone. It's a constitutional matter. There must be public hearing. The view of the people must be taken into consideration. If on that, at the end of the day, those who came out to oppose state police were more than the people who came out in support. At the end of the day, state police was removed. They didn't make it back to the House during the last amendment. Now it's already on the burner again. We must appeal to people. Public hearing must be taken seriously. They know what they have to do. They've done it already. They don't even need us. The media, the CSOs must start to empower people to understand the system, to understand what to look out for, not to be fixated, to say this is the problem. So we have a very wide problem, and every one of us is involved. The last election should show us that yes, the people can make the change when you understand it. But there are so many people who made some wrong choices out of annoyance during the last election that are even regretting today. So, but what we need to do is to treat every situation on its merit. Let's know that this country belongs to every one of us. We all have reason to ask for accountability. When we need information, let's ask. Let's don't say we are giving up. Every Nigerian that becomes a politician today was sometime outside there too, thinking it will come in to make that difference. Many have been overwhelmed by the problem. Many have even been frustrated and are back in their homes and have sworn never to touch politics again. So we have to create a system that everybody, even when you are coming into politics, you will be supported, and that doesn't remove accountability. We should ensure that there is accountability by ensuring that all the institutions that are responsible too are strengthening. So the media, the CSOs also have a lot to do. Yes, on our own part. Because you see, many of these laws must be initiated by the operators. Being a legislator doesn't mean you understand the law. You understand what to be created. You can only understand the system. Even when we want to draft the law, we have to get the people who will draft it. What I want to do is, in the electoral, I've told you the summary of the amendments I want now. But in putting it on papers, it has to be done by the civil servant, by the technical people. At the end of the day. So everybody has to be brought together. Even there is an error in what we write, sometimes it will be deliberate. Even when I say this is what you should do, if they are not in line with what I'm doing, what I really want with my vision, it can be sabotaged.
Thank you.
And at the end of the day, I will be held responsible.
Indeed.
But also our politicians too, we should be very active now. We should also educate ourselves. Yes, the law says you'll be a school start holder, but nothing stops you from understanding the system, from gaining more knowledge for you to do your job better.
Okay. Just a question thinking in my head. Is every politician a Democrat or every Democrat a politician?
At least to be a politician, you must win an election. So you must be a Democrat, unless those who are appointed. Those who are appointed. And that's where that will take us to the issue of this gender issue. The issue of creating special constituency for women in the electoral process. I will tell them you can only do that in appointments, not in elective positions, because election is supposed to be competitive, level playing ground, not for it to be tilted towards one person.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
As they say, all good things must come to an end at a point. Well, this is that point, but we'll have to say goodbye. But we'd like to remind you that our social media handles are right there on your screen, and we would love to hear from you. Send us a tweet, send us a mail. We'll bring it up back to you so that others will get to hear what you have to say as well. Till we'll bring you another edition of the show, this is me saying goodbye.